Dolls are one of the most potent and universal symbols of childhood. But dolls in the hands of an adult artist, who also happens to be a psychoanalyst, can be unsettling, mysterious, even scary.
Maybe they're scary because they can be dead, or they're inanimate. I think they're also scary the way I photograph them, because they're out of focus, the angles are strange, and in a sense they really are a container for psychological feeling, for feelings and wishes and fears.
She takes objects of play, which we think of dolls and dollhouses and figures, and she, through her art, turns them into objects of memory. There's an ambiguity of scale where you start to wonder, is that a child, or is it a doll? How big is she? What's she doing? There's an infinite field of depth, so that everything in the picture is in focus and also hazy at the same time, much like memory.
Dolls came having children. I have boys, and we go toy shopping, and I fell in love with their action figures. I started appreciating them as little works of art, and I started collecting dolls. And I just found myself gravitating towards vintage souvenirs of my childhood. I think being an analyst is an art form. I just didn't have a visual media for a long time.
Okay. Collecting, even playing with dolls is one thing. Photographing them is another. It came as a kind of self-healing impulse after September 11th.
I have two Freuds. I've had him on my couch in here.
Dr. Bassin, who's written extensively about grief and mourning, was asked by the Giuliani administration to advise the Department of Health how to help the families of 9/11 victims cope with the tragedy. It was a shattering experience for her.
The healer has to heal themselves in some way, and I found myself gravitating to an old dollhouse, one of the ones that I've used in my office that I had really there for decoration. Years ago I used to work with children, but not anymore, and the dollhouse was really a decorative item, but I had some dolls there and some toys, and I found myself setting up a scene in the dollhouse, which was myself, I think, at a chair and a patient on the couch, and then myself sliding off the chair. And then I started putting babies in it, and I just started realizing that there was information for me. It was my exposure of myself, and it was a way to get a visual handle on what I couldn't speak about.
Bassin was able to record this information while still helping her patients by using a pinhole camera, a simple low-tech box with no lens or viewfinder that requires a long exposure in order to make a photograph. Bassin's chosen exposure was precisely 45 minutes, the length of a session on the couch.
There's a little bit of a random quality. She calls it co-creation of a third eye, so that the pinhole in the camera is seeing something that the artist can't see. There's no viewfinder in a pinhole camera. So really the artist is setting the stage for the picture, placing the camera, and waiting to see what the pinhole camera captures too.
Mostly I was operating on a free associative or a automatic writing kind of way with them. I'd lay them all out and see who was supposed to, as I think novelists talk about it, when their characters take over in a certain way, and you just see what Olivia wanted to do that day, whether she wanted to sit in the chair or fall on the floor or whatever. Then I started taking them on vacation where I travel. I change a location, and so they became extensions of myself. Playing with dolls or toys is the way children master overwhelming situations. I think artists do that, and I think the connection between the way we all felt after September 11th, where we all felt like helpless children out of control, the way children feel when they're, in normal situations often, and sometimes extraordinary situations. I think childhood is not an ideal time, really. I think it's a very overwhelming time. I think it's an adult fantasy. And I think we look back nostalgically.
The way you want to think about it is as an idyllic, kind of magical place that we all remember. But in fact, there is loss involved with thinking about your childhood because it's lost time. It's something that as adults we never get back. And really all we have left is the memory.
Yesterday came suddenly
life.